Right.
Even though it's it's listed when you really do the research and you know the information about diabetes, or if you just happen to be thirsty a lot, a lot of people don't think twice about stuff like that. It's when you start to feel drained, or when things start to pop up on your skin, or when the more overt, noticeable symptoms is what people will tend to usually go to the doctor for. But when it comes down to the subtle symptoms, a lot of times they get overlooked. And then there's some symptoms that even, it may not necessarily be associated with a particular condition. So let's say someone who has hypertension, for example. Someone who has hypertension, they'll say, if you look up the so-called official information on hypertension online, they may say that hypertension can go without noticeable effects, but if you say take someone's pulse, that can be a symptom if the pulse is too fast. If you notice that you get stressed very easily, that could be a potential symptom. If you notice that you have, sometimes discoloring of the face where one area is darker than the rest of your face, sometimes that can be a potential symptom that something is wrong,
Right.
And so these things that a lot of times people tend to overlook. And as I was taught and told, the body doesn't lie,
Right.
So things that by the time you get to a state where you receive a diagnosis, the condition has already been going on for quite some time.
Right. And when you get there, you're in a state of disease. So we have a question. What issues can and cannot be solved by using herbs?
What issues can and cannot be solved by using herbs? To my knowledge, most issues can be solved by using herbs. Some of the issues that cannot be solved by using herbs, things that are traumatic type injuries, birth defects, is not a full those type of things. Most things that you would think of, spirituality is very practical. And when you look at it from a scientific standpoint, you're dealing with energy and you're dealing with your direction. So what's your direction in life and what's your energy like? How are you receiving and giving energy? Now we're looking at how your spirituality is functioning in a practical standpoint. We look at the mental aspect. So with the mental aspect, how do you perceive things? What type of information do you have? Then we're looking at the physical standpoint. Now we're looking at, what type of foods you eat. Do you exercise? Do you get outside? Do you get fresh air? Then we're looking at the environmental aspect. So the environmental aspect is also a community aspect. So how is your family support? What's your family relationships like? How is your work stressing you out? Do you get out to nature? All of these different things. What's going on in your house? Like someone who has asthma, it may keep being triggered in the home because they have mold in the house. Is one prime example. So we look at all of those different aspects, and then we compose a regimen that is workable for the individual, that's going to help him or her to address all of those issues. And a lot of times, take it step by step so it's not overwhelming. So again, it has to be workable, it has to be practical. And I think that's what kind of sets it apart from a lot of what other health service providers and professionals would offer, because I know that I look at it from that full perspective. There's others, I'm not the only one, but I think that sets it aside, just the perspective and how we're handling everything and addressing it in its completeness.
Right. And so do you think that at the root of most of our dis-ease is the spiritual aspect? And if so, how can we begin to work on that, even before we go into the physical or our surroundings or our different aspects?
Well, yeah, spiritual, everything is energy first. So again, spirit is dealing with energy and is dealing with direction. And everything is energy first. We are energetic or energy beings, which are in a solid state, etc.
Right.
But the way that we would address it is from a physical standpoint. But again, we're addressing it from more than a physical standpoint. But from a physical standpoint, it starts with working to cleanse the system of any type of toxic buildup that's in the system that could be contributing to the mental clutter.
Right.
Then secondly, we want to make sure that when the body is clean, or as the body is cleansing, that we're supporting the body with the proper nutrients that's going to help to support and promote normal brain function. And so that's a key thing because a lot of the foods that we are eating are practically junk foods.
Right.
They have a physiological effect where they are congesting our systems, and they actually can slow down the vibratory rate of the nerve transmission, or sometimes they can speed it up and burn out the nerve cells.
Wow.
And there's times where it can actually cause damage to the brain as well. Things like processed sugar, especially, because it's very acid forming inside of the body, and it eats up a lot of the antioxidants and free radical scavengers and things that protect the body in plain terminology. It eats up a lot of the nutrients and things that protect the body, and it contributes to damage in the body because acid, when you think about acid, the first thing people think about is probably burning through something, and that's basically what an overload of that does inside of the body. So just imagine, you're eating, Doritos and, with all of these added chemicals that are building acid, and some of them are acids themselves. You're drinking Coca-Cola and Pepsi every day. These things have an effect that actually damage the cells, kill the cells, and also can affect how fast or slow that the cells are able to communicate with each other.
Right.
In a way that they're able to communicate with each other. So that's where you have a lot of mental health disparities on that end. But again, in dealing with the spiritual aspect, you can look at types of the origin of a lot of mental health conditions. Aspects can be worked around, and you see vast improvements. When you are helping to address the children's emotional issues, by helping to address their needs by providing things that they may not have at home. By being a father figure to those who may not have fathers, or being a mother figure to those who may not have mothers, to show that you care. A lot of times those types of things can be worked around.
Right. Thank you for that. One of our listeners also wanted to know, what are the best foods to eat when you are planning a pregnancy, and how can a woman best prepare her health to make sure she is in optimal shape?
Oh, that's a good question also. Well, the best foods to eat, again, we're sticking with whole plant-based foods, just in general. But when you are pregnant, you need more calories, you need more fat, things that are going to help to support the baby as well as far as the baby's development. And so you want to eat a little bit more on the fats, you want to eat a little bit more on the seeds and nuts and avocados and things like that, and you want things that are very rich in B vitamins also, which is very, very important. So you want to eat a good variety of foods, and that's pretty much in general. But with pregnant women, you want to eat that a little bit more in abundance, in those types of food's there, so that way the baby is getting the nourishment for the brain and all of that. The essential fatty acids, omega-3 especially, and they have all types of supplements in the health stores now for that, because it's been shown that these certain nutrients are crucial for the baby's development, especially neurological and brain development. So like the fats, the B vitamins are very, very crucial.
Right. And so you mentioned omega-3s, which people usually associate with fish. How else can you get omega-3s outside of fish or taking supplements? What foods can you draw those out of?
Well, you can get omega-3s as far as plant-based foods. You can find them in flax seeds or flaxseed meal. You can find them in chia seeds. Chia seed is actually one of the better or best sources, and actually they even have a chia seed oil that they have in some stores that you can utilize in food preparation. On diabetes in our community, if I remember correctly, is about 25% of African American adults, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
So we're looking at 1 in every 4 adults that you run into will be diabetic.
Wow.
Statistically speaking. And so we still have wrong information because a lot of people don't know what diabetes is. They think it's sugar. They think it's sugar accumulation in the blood. Is wrong. Diabetes is when the pancreas is not functioning properly. And the sugar buildup in the blood is a byproduct of that. And so we want to make sure that we have the concept straight, because that way it eradicates a lot of myths about how to go about addressing the issue. And that's why a lot of people are prone to take the pharmaceutical drugs, because from the perspective of, okay, well, we're just looking at the symptom of it, not knowing it's a symptom, but we're saying that diabetes is sugar in the blood. And so, yeah, you can take a drug that's going to help to, relieve excess sugar from the blood, which a lot of them help to, help the body to metabolize sugars, or they help the body to relieve a lot of sugars through urinating, by forcing an action on the kidneys. So, yeah, you can address that issue, but if you're still eating the same foods, if you're still not addressing the pancreas and working to strengthen and build the pancreas up with the proper nutrients, the proper herbs and things of that nature, then you're still going to have the condition, and you're just in a revolving door as far as the treatment is concerned. And that's why they'll tell you diabetes is incurable and you have to stay on drugs the rest of your life. You can just manage it. And that's the way that the system approaches a condition like that, is management, not curing. When diabetes can actually be gone completely, there's actually a documentary where they show that people have reversed diabetes in 30 days. But 3 months, 6 months, just without going to, a retreat, like they were in a particular retreat and they had people preparing their food and all of that. And that's not really necessarily put past anybody, but just lifestyle and to keep it practical, 6 months time to a year, you can eradicate diabetes completely.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, what about you have high blood pressure on your site as well?
Yes.
How can people go about
One of the main things, you want to make sure that you keep your body hydrated. And our people do not drink water. We drink everything else but water. Or we may drink water, but we drink small amounts of water. And we drink water inconsistently. And we drink poor quality waters. So we're drinking tap water. We're drinking water from Deer Park and Poland Spring, and the local supermarket brand that just says purified water. Those types of waters like that don't absorb well in the body. They don't keep the body hydrated. And what you may even notice is that a lot of them will run through you. So one of the things that I hear often when I'm asking people and speaking with them about their choice in water or drinking water, period, is they'll say, well, I don't drink water because, I'm at a job where I don't have but so many breaks, and every time I drink water, I run right to the bathroom. So I just avoid drinking water. And when your body, of course, going to the bathroom and, as far as drinking water is a necessary process and it's going to happen. But, the type of water that you drink will determine how much that you're going to actually be going to the bathroom, because some of that water, or a good portion of that water, should be absorbed by your cells, and it shouldn't pass right through you. So if the water is passing right through you, that means that your body's not taking it. And so we want to look at the types of waters that we drink, drinking better quality waters that have more alkalinity as opposed to acidity, which means that it's going to have the alkaline-forming minerals, or trace minerals, or some people call them electrolytes, which is why they sell the Gatorade and Powerade and all of that stuff. If they sell, the selling point of that is the electrolytes within them.
Right.
That helps to maintain the hydration of the body, so it helps the cells to absorb the water.
Right.
So that's an important point, making sure that we drink the right types of water, and making sure that we drink a good amount of water on a daily basis. So that way we keep ourselves hydrated. But there's different forms of it. Because there's different forms of vitamin D. There's different forms of vitamin B. There's different forms of what makes up vitamin A. And so all of these things, are found in food. And when you take those things and you isolate them as particular supplements, then they're not going to be as effective because it's missing something, and your body is going to be missing something in turn.
Right.
So I always advocate whole foods, whole herbs. So herb-wise, there's things like elderberry, which is a very good tonic to help to keep the immune system strong. You have some people eat onions, and make sure that they eat onions, a good amount of them every day, maybe a whole onion a day. I've heard some people doing with success, and say that they really never get a cold. Garlic, utilizing raw, fresh garlic and a lot of your food, that can be good for some people. So there's many different things. I also have a powder called Camu Camu, and I've known people, and I use that myself as well, but people who use that on a regular basis and they don't get colds. So there's a lot of things that you can utilize just to keep your immune system up, and of course making sure you drink the proper water. As I just mentioned, to keep your body detoxified, cleanse your system, with the changing of the seasons is also a good practice as well. Detoxify from anything that you may be carrying or harboring that could potentially, serve as a breeding ground for those types of germs.
Right. Now, another question from one of our listeners. How do you feel about self-medication methods in the Pan-African and African traditional spiritual community, like marijuana? How do you feel about that? What's the deal with weed and the highs and lows?
Well, marijuana itself is a very medicinal plant. And the same can be said for a lot of plants. Most plants, if not all, have some benefit to them. Even the ones that are considered as toxic and poisonous, and the ones that people consider as drugs, which the plant itself is, in the sense of the word drug in a way that we use it, the plant itself is not a drug. You know, so marijuana itself is not a drug. But when you take fire and you put the fire to the marijuana, when you're smoking it and inhaling it, it changes its chemical composition. And it creates a substance that's toxic. But yeah, it still has some of the medicinal qualities of the natural herb itself. You know, but you're also altering it and you're making it more toxic to the body. So you have your benefits from it, and then you have your downside to it as well. And I know many people who argue typically between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, either through call or text. You can also reach me on Facebook, which is facebook.com/DOCTAYEW, facebook.com/DOCTAYEW, Dr. U. And you can also reach me through email, DRYEW@ymail, the letter Y, mail, MAIL.com. That's DRYEW, like Dr. U, @ymail.com. And so, yes, those are the best ways to reach me. Either one is fine. And also my website, www.yew360.com. It's yew360.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all of the information that you have given us. And you, Asafo, greatly appreciate your time and the work that you're doing in the community. Today on the New Asafo, we have Yuma Dr. U. Bellamy, who is a certified holistic health consultant, herbalist, holistic wellness advocate, healing workshop facilitator, and performing artist. He is also the owner of U360 Holistic Health and Wellness in Washington, D.C., which is a small company offering all natural and holistic services and products. These services and products are intended to support the body, mind, spirit, and environment. And the focus of this company is holistic health and wellness to promote total healing for our collective communities via information, motivation, and progressive action through all avenues of nature that nourish us as a whole. Welcome, Dr. U.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. So, we gave you a little bit of an introduction, but can you please fill us in a little more on your personal background and just give us a more an understanding of why you do what you do and what you do and how you contribute to the community?
Okay, well, my personal background, I really got started through my interest in health and wellness, which was planted by my grandmother, by my mother, by my father. The African perspective on it. Yeah, it's very African because civilization started there, and it's scientifically proven that the first people, were vegans or were vegetarians. People use the term vegan and use the term vegetarian, and really it's kind of pretty much the same thing. It's more of a political thing that makes the difference between the two, because people start to include the dairy products and the fish and the eggs and things like that, in the term vegetarian, by saying that you're not eating animal flesh. But when we look at nature, and if we use nature as the standard, we don't call animals vegan that just eat vegetables. We call them vegetarian animals.
Right.
And so when we look at things from outside of the manipulative standpoint, it becomes a lot more clear. But, the first man, you can go right down to here in D.C. where I am. They have the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. And right inside there, they have a display that talks about, the origins of man, so to speak. And they show what the original diet of the man was, or the original food intake of the man was, which was based off of plant life, whole plants that they found within their environment. And at that time, again, fire was discovered and things like that way later. They didn't really need the fire aspect because they were out there in the hot sun. So why do they need to build a fire? You know what I'm saying? And so all of this stuff was kind of like later on down the line. But, of course, it's only fitting that, when we look at nature and the natural evolution, just about anything in nature feeds off of what's in its environment. And is equipped to handle what it is that it needs in order to survive. So when we look at the biology of a human being, we're not equipped to, say, hunt down a lot of the things that we eat as far as animal flesh and whatnot is concerned. We're not equipped to go and chase down a cow and jump on it and, eat his hair and crack down his bones and, be able to digest his flesh raw without us getting sick.
Right.
No animal in nature, no mammal drinks milk from another mammal. So these are the things that we have to look at. We always want to look to nature as our guide because this is what's been shown to be the healthiest choices for us.
Right. So what do you say to those individuals who are kind of stuck in a rut and they don't know what the first step is or what the first step is that they can take to eat healthier because of all the processed foods that are in the grocery stores, or just because they don't have the education to know or haven't been educated on the fact that being a vegetarian or eating vegetables is healthier for them than these processed foods or things that aren't in nature?
Well, to tell you the truth, I think that it's primarily an issue of discipline. Many of our people, I would dare to say that it's common knowledge with many of our people that eating fruits and vegetables are healthy. And I go around, I do presentations and workshops and lectures, and I like to interact with the audience, just to put it out there. If you're used to running to the bathroom a whole bunch of times throughout the day and you're really not thinking too much about it, but that's just what you do, it becomes part of your lifestyle, you don't know to look for that as a symptom.
Right.
Even though it's listed when you really do the research and the information about diabetes, or if you just happen to be thirsty a lot, a lot of people don't think twice about stuff like that. It's when you start to feel drained, or when things start to pop up on your skin, or when the more overt, noticeable symptoms is what people will tend to usually go to the doctor for. But when it comes down to the subtle symptoms, a lot of times they get overlooked. And then there's some symptoms that even, it may not necessarily be associated with a particular condition. So let's say someone who has hypertension, for example. Someone who has hypertension, they'll say, if you look up the so-called official information on hypertension online, they may say that hypertension can go without noticeable effects, but if you say, take someone's pulse, that can be a symptom if the pulse is too fast. If you notice that you get stressed very easily, that could be a potential symptom. If you notice that you have, sometimes discoloring of the face where one area is darker than the rest of your face, sometimes that can be a potential symptom that something is wrong.
Right.
And so these things that a lot of times people tend to overlook. And as I was taught and told, the body doesn't lie.
Right.
So things that